You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
From Rochester, the home of empty shelves everywhere, this is FC3 Monkey Business. I am your host. My name is Chris. As with me, as always, is the lovely and talented Billy DeTore.
Oh, hey, I'm back.
Hi, Billy.
You're
Hi,
lovely
Chris.
and talented.
We missed you, Billy.
We
Are
did
you
miss
sure?
you.
Wow, you guys really looking at the world through rose-colored glasses if I'm lovely and talented.
I don't have any glasses on.
The coronavirus. I took it to heart, and I drank a lot of Corona, and now I got beer goggles. It's all good, really, when it comes to...
Why would you even go there to drink the Corona beer?
Come on, Corona's not that bad.
I don't.
Do you at least have Lyme disease to go with
There
it?
you go.
Oh. And we've lost Dan.
Oh, wow. Gone down fast.
The ship is sinking.
Dare I even say it? That's what she said. Anyway.
Oh.
And remember, if you sing American Pie while washing your hands, you only have to do it once a day.
Yes, but then you also be like, you're having to use a ton of like
Lotion.
hand lotion because your hands will be, like destroyed.
We've lost Dan.
And in the middle, giggling her way through, as always, is the vivacious, the effervescent, the snarky.
Yes, I am very snarky.
Yeah, but,
because I'm probably going to be shut in with my kids for at least a week or not
I can't even imagine. Like the entire world is closing down. Has that happened yet? Like the entire world is closed down, and then there's a
Not in my world, no.
That's the best cameo ever.
Well, at least he didn't streak going through.
That's a thing.
Oh, that's next. Okay.
Okay.
Time for the all-new...
No, my eyes, no. For the home audience who is not actually seeing the video, Dan just ran through the actual podcast set twice. Once with distinctly fewer pieces of clothing than before. Oh my God! I've been awake since 4:30 and it's starting to show. It's 12:30 in the afternoon, so I've been up for 8 hours now. I've had an 8-hour day already. Yeah.
You fought the crowds at Wegmans and survived.
I didn't fight them, really. They weren't that bad. I mean, the thing is that most of the locusts have already picked the bones clean of the beast. That was it. I mean, I got to Wegmans. There were things on the shelves, but all the important stuff was gone.
You didn't want the jar of olives?
I didn't want the jar of olives.
Oh, I could have. Yeah, no. I stopped at Wegmans at 11:30 today and walked in because I had heard horror stories about the produce section being completely empty and the bakery section and everything. Now granted, the bananas were gone. Mm-hmm. Bananas are gone, but all the other fruits and stuff were there, because I'm hoping Scott will be able to get fruit for later today. But I have contemplated sending a message going, do you want me to just pick up the fruit? Because I see it here, but whatever. But I got chocolate chip cookies today. I primarily went in to get Coke Zero and Sprite to have in the house. And you
successfully found that, I'm assuming?
Yes, and they had a ton of that stuff. But the Wegmans Pop was the one that was lacking on the shelves.
Well,
the name brands, right?
I think overall they're doing a pretty decent job. I mean, considering the
they're trying to
they're
keep up
dealing
with the
with.
demand.
Yeah.
This is more of a commentary on how we as a society are reacting. I think
it is. It's definitely a reaction.
It's definitely not. Or overreacting, as the case may be. This is just very weird. I studied history. I studied political science when I was in college. I'm familiar with the rise and fall and the ebb and the flow of how things work and
rationing.
And you as a teacher, you've had psychology classes, and Billy's been in radio, and they're all mental, right? So we all have our strong suit to bring into the conversation. This is just weird.
Well, welcome to social media.
I was going to say
exactly
that's got to be
it
a
is.
big thing about it. Yeah,
I think that's
a huge component.
The thing. Now, granted, I have a doomsday preparer in the house already.
Is it your mother-in-law?
No, well, I think it's a combination. Okay, so I might have.
I wonder where he
two
got
of,
it
Might
from.
be a genetic
It
component.
might be a genetic component that there's two of them in the house that, I mean, truly, we're not going to starve over the next month or so in
Might have
our
to
house.
fix the refrigerator again, but
See,
if they shove everything in the refrigerator, I'm moving out. I'm going someplace else.
Susan saw this coming a month ago. It's really hitting like the last week or two.
Mm-hmm.
Like a month ago, Susan started buying some extra food, and we've got
stocking up and things like that.
We're stocking up, and I think somewhere in the middle of the hoarders and me, who I'd go around licking doorknobs if I could right now, just to annoy people.
Just to prove point.
Like that kid that was...
there's a middle somewhere that's more right than...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to downplay it because this is serious. People are dying from this thing, right? But it's like you said, where's the middle ground?
Yeah.
What is going on here that's causing...
Be smart about it. Take those precautions. Hand wash.
Now, right now, I work at Record Archive right now, and it's
still
open.
Go?
It's still open for business as of recording right now, and as far as I know, it will be. But yesterday I was working, and we have hand sanitizer stations. When people come in, we're asking everybody as they come in to take a squirt of the hand sanitizer, rub it in, and we've had a couple really nasty reactions to it. One guy started walking, and my coworker, I was punching out for lunch. My coworker goes, "Excuse me, sir, can you take a squirt of that?" And he kept walking, and so my coworker picked it up and started handing it to him. The guy smacked it out of his hand, knocked some stuff off the front counter, and stormed out.
They say goodbye.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot, just taking those precautions to wash your hands, use the hand sanitizer. If you don't feel good, stay home. Don't go out. Don't go out and gather. Now, granted, as we're sitting here, three of us within 3 feet of each. Yeah, I know. I've seen that one too. Thanks. That
I'm just a meme magnet right
yes,
now, man. That's
and it's just a matter of just being smart about it and not overreact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, yes, the schools are closed down for at least this week. And because you don't know who is contagious, who isn't contagious, who's thinking that it's a cold or just allergies or whatever. And it's like, start listing down your symptoms. And if you don't feel good, don't go out. Call somebody and say, hey, I need this or whatever. And check on your elderly neighbors. Check on the ones that are in the high-risk group. That type of thing. And if... you need something, put it out on DM us and say, this is what we need. I'm the first ones that says, if you feel as though you don't have enough food or that you can't make breakfast or lunch or whatever for your kids because you're relying on school, send me a message.
Because financial times are going to get tricky.
It's definitely going to get tricky.
Yeah.
And I have enough mac and cheese in the house that I can at least feed my kids plus somebody else's kids for.
Oh, that's what I forgot to get. Okay.
My kitchen cabinet, you can grab a couple mac and cheeses. No, but
the only person who actually eats mac and cheese in my house is Jules, and right now she's swearing off of it.
Well, and it's the thing is,
I don't know why, but she is, so I'm rolling with it.
Yeah, it just. I don't know. Just take extra precautions.
What I think has made it real over the last week, where people are going nuts and going shopping and hoarding and stuff. What's turned it from a sort of a concept into a real thing? 2 things: Tom Hanks getting sick,
right?
Yes,
and sports being canceled.
That's
All of a sudden, it became real. And wow, if they're not playing March Madness, I better go get toilet paper.
That part's I get. No, but there was a meme that came out that I saw on Friday, and it said 1918 Toronto wins the Stanley Cup. 1919 Stanley Cup canceled. 1992-1993 Toronto wins the World Series. 1994 the World Series is canceled. 2019 Toronto wins the NBA championship. 2020 NBA is canceled for
Blame
now.
Canada.
It says, what the hell did Toronto do? So yeah. It was kind of funny. It was kind of funny. But yeah, you just look at it and
sorry to all my family up there.
And now this is going to be dropping a week and a half into this.
So it's been nice to know you. I'm speaking from the
I don't know.
grave.
Maybe we should drop it this Wednesday, or drop the podcast and maybe do a second one just just say, yes, we're thinking about you. We'll have more updates because I know people have been.
Yeah.
Did they listen to while they're stuck at home?
Yes, and you're stuck at home, working at home, and you're going to have 2 kids on stuck home. You're not trying to figure out how much you're going to be able to get done. And for those parents that are out there that are like now trying to figure out that they now have to figure out how to become a special education teacher. I've seen at least one post for it. I mean, direct message me. I can give suggestions, strategies, whatever. I am a special education teacher, or I'm a general ed teacher. I teach English, I teach math, I teach whatever. Send us a message. We can get you activities that you can do with your kids that can kind of keep them occupied. The main thing is they will still need structure this week. It can't necessarily be just the free-for-all because you're going to be ready to take the bridge yourself type thing. So as much as you can, structure the day for them. This is coming from me that is going to probably plan on sleeping for most of the day. But
And if this podcast is known for anything, it's structure.
It does have a structure.
It has a beginning, a middle, another middle, and then it starts the beginning again, and then it has an end.
But there's structure somewhere.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and encourage reading, encourage not as much time on the electronics unless it is a learning activity type thing, or have the kids binge watch their favorite show and then tell you what the setting was, what was going on, the characters, things like that. Make it something. So, what was the conflict? What was the problem? How did they solve it? It just gives them a different way of looking at it. So
I'm sorry. The only thing right now in my head is if you need a structured podcast, but but you need help. No,
called J.G. Wentworth.
Call Tanya Metris.
Don't call me. Send me an email. I may or may not answer that.
You have a structured podcast, and you.
So no, because I'm waiting for an email to figure out because I don't know if
I thought I only saw those ads during Mets games. Where do you see them?
I see them everywhere.
Really?
Oh, the J.G. Wentworth.
I haven't seen one in ages because I really don't watch a lot of commercial TV anymore. But
yeah,
they're memorable.
My students would come into school going, "I need money now." It's called J.G. I'm like, really? Oh my God, we've really gone off the rails today.
You're welcome.
Oh, that made me laugh. Thank you.
You're very
so going
welcome.
to our structure, other than that, maybe we'll take a quick break and then come back and get back on track.
And when we come back, we're going to re-enter the Twilight Zone.
Actually, we might be in an episode of the Twilight Zone.
Oh, we are so there. We are so there. But when what Tanya said, I need a cookie.
Cookies. Go get a cookie.
I'm gonna get a cookie.
Go get a cookie. I've had 3 already.
Had a teensy-weensy breakdown, but now I'm cured. Understanding, it's wonderful. It isn't the airplane at all. Overtension and over-anxiety due to underconfidence.
Seatbelt, sir.
Portrait of a frightened man. Mr. Robert Wilson, 37, husband, father, and salesman on sick leave. Mr. Wilson has just been discharged from a sanitarium, where he spent the last 6 months recovering from a nervous breakdown, the onset of which took place on an evening not dissimilar to this one, on an airliner very much like the one in which Mr. Wilson is about to be flown home. The difference being that on that evening, half a year ago, Mr. Wilson's flight was terminated by the onslaught of his mental breakdown. Tonight, he's traveling all the way to his appointed destination, which, contrary to Mr. Wilson's plan, happens to be in the darkest corner of the Twilight Zone.
Are you okay?
No.
Submitted.
I'm just thinking about what this week is going to entail. You know what? I might get a lot of WoW time in. Might.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
I still have to go to work tomorrow.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Wow time?
World of Warcraft.
Oh.
Yeah. But
You know what boggles my imagination?
What boggles your imagination, Chris?
Just to finish off our conversation at the top of the show. The toilet paper was missing. The Kleenex was missing. The pasta was missing. Let me get the peanut butter was missing. The butcher shop was raided, like to the point where I was there 2 nights ago, and they were wheeling a cart out from the back to restock the shelves, and there was a flock of locusts ready to. I mean, the guy he would put something on the shelf, and somebody would grab it off said shelf, like that was happening, But the vegetables were, plenty. There was plenty in stock. The fruit, plenty in stock. The bottled water, plenty in stock. The brand name soda pop, stock. The generic soda pop, the store name stuff, gone. Mm-hmm. What is wrong with you people? What is absolutely wrong with you people? You're going to be stuck in a house for 2 weeks on ramen and peanut butter? Now, that could work for you when you were in college, but holy crap, people.
Peanut butter was one of the things that I bought.
I couldn't. It was all gone.
We might have an extra jar in my house.
And now you're entering another dimension of sight.
It truly
sound.
is another dimension going on right now that it's just...
there was a purpose for this podcast today,
yeah,
wasn't there?
so we're talking about Twilight Zone, but before we get to just what was really, really odd, as I was finishing up watching Mandalorian last night. I'm finally done! Woo!
How did I finish Mandalorian before you?
I got a Baby Yoda tattoo before I started Mandalorian, so I was committed.
She didn't even watch the show yet.
I was
she had
committed.
A Baby Yoda tattoo.
I should be committed, but
I will not argue that point.
I hope in season 2, Baby Yoda turns into like a bad guy.
I like this little Mandalorian amulet or whatever.
A little leather jacket.
It was kind of like Baby Groot.
Smoking.
The Disney corporate offices would be raided.
Yeah. No, but
by millions.
What I found was very, very strange is
that got a tattoo before you saw the show?
Yeah, that too. There was a fight that broke out last night or Friday night at Dave & Buster's. That they were like picking up the bar chairs and things like that and throwing them at the the glass doors and things like that. And I'm like, oh, what have we really come down to in our society?
Just use the giant rock'em sock'em robots.
Yeah, no kidding.
They do promise an interactive experience there. I mean, I don't know what you're complaining about.
But I just couldn't believe the number of people that were fighting there. And then there was another one like Mark's Texas Hots or whatever was another place where they were fighting and things like that.
It's
just like
crazy.
Is it because that now everyone's like freaking out over this coronavirus and things like that? But I just don't get it in regards to that.
They don't have sports to watch on TV.
In regards to sports to watch on TV, I saw a Facebook video of someone's Roomba going down, and they were using a Swiffer to curl it.
Curling. Yeah.
Curling with because this was canceled and things like that. I mean, I think maybe ESPN now needs to start showing old footage of stuff like Miracle on Ice and
what
whatever.
do they show on it now? I don't know. What are they showing on?
Music videos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, on ESPN.
Really?
Yeah. Well, they're not on MTV, so they're free.
Could you imagine?
Elsewhere.
We don't know.
As someone that likes sports radio, they're scrambling like crazy.
I bet, because you have nothing to talk about and say except for like speculation about how long this is going to go on. What are they going to do? Are they going to actually hold anything without any spectators? Because that was the original thing. But then even holding something without spectators, and you allow the family in, and you allow whatever else in, you're over 500 people, which goes against the large gathering things that happen right now.
I guess UFC did a show in Brazil in front of no spectators last night. I didn't see it.
Because they couldn't actually record it.
WWE did Friday Night SmackDown from their training facility with no spectators.
Oh, wow.
Which was I watched it yesterday, and it was weird.
Most of it is the spectacle and getting the fans involved.
Yeah, they talked about that.
Yeah, so if the fans are not there, then
not reacting,
you're focusing more on the choreography. We'll call it choreography because I know if I say fake, then I'm going to get hit by somebody.
No,
but not you. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying the next convention, somebody's going to walk in. It's not faking, and I'm going to get hit. It's going to be a thing.
It's scripted.
Yeah.
It's definitely scripted, and so therefore, without the audience reaction, they're like, "Oh, it's got to be a surreal experience."
A couple of the wrestlers pretended like there was an audience that they were playing to, and it was very funny.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's just
maybe one too many hits from the snake.
And to go into our topic, this truly is like a Twilight Zone episode that we're dealing with, and we are going to be looking at the Twilight Zone. 2 different episodes, Billy, and you were the ones that we threw that back to you because we missed you last time, so we let you pick our topic.
I love the Twilight Zone, and I just started watching the CBS All Access version, and episode 2 was a remake of a classic episode from the 60s.
Right.
1963 was the first one.
Nightmare
in
at 20,000 Feet. And
starring the ever-present William Shatner.
William Shatner, pre-Captain Kirk.
Right.
Yeah, and now it's funny because watching it, and Chris is like, okay, get ready for the bad acting. I'm like, it wasn't as over.
No, I didn't say bad acting. I said overacting.
But it wasn't necessarily as overacting as he is as Captain Kirk. Because it was early in his career.
Yeah.
And I think I want to say I liked him
look at it
better.
from the lens of, at the time we watched it, we could not do that without seeing Captain Kirk.
Right.
However, at the time, Captain Kirk did not exist yet.
So therefore, I'm like, I want to say I liked him better acting in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
There's a more subtle aspect to it.
Yes.
There was some subtlety to it. There was also some Captain Kirk striving through, especially towards the end of the scene.
Yes.
But I think part of it is just sort of the acting style of the early days of television.
Right, exactly.
Sort of an overacting, theatrical.
Exactly, because the people are playing to folks in the audience from the stage. I noticed when we did the Halloween special where we talked about the classic monster movies, and it was so clear that Frankenstein was a stage play that was just being filmed, right? It was the blocking and the movement and the acting was all screaming. This came from a stage play, and they just happened to put movie cameras in the audience, And so you still see vestiges of that through the 40s, 50s, 60s, as you have these quote unquote classically trained actors, thespians, now transferring into the medium of television. And even movies to a particular degree, and you still see that holdover where nowadays people are fully fleshed out. They do the stage as part of their college curriculum, or they come from the stage, but then they realize that TV acting is an entirely different animal. So there's a transition that's occurred in the past 50, 60 years.
Because even in the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, not just William Shatner, but all of the characters sort of
played to the back row a little
big.
bit. Yeah, they played to the back row a little bit.
Oh, pilot, will you come here? I believe we have a problem.
Like looking at it today, you'd never get the pilot out like that.
No. Well, there's that. I mean, then you have modern society too. The thing I was when we were going into watching Nightmare on 30,000 Feet, the remake, my whole thought was, how are they going to put the guy on the wing of a turbojet, basically? And so I was worried that this whole thing was going to be about a critter on the wing again.
No, they did a great job.
I thought it was really an interesting take on it. Now, at the top of it, as we usually do, spoilers. If
you haven't seen it, spoilers.
Yes.
Dan hasn't seen it, and he's like, I don't think I'll watch it.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of nuance that you can be like, oh, you know what, it's all right, it's fine, I can skip that, and you'd be okay. So the way they did it, though, in 30,000 feet, in 20,000 feet, it was the creature on the wing.
We had the creature on the wing. William Shatner's character had a breakdown. Was just coming out of a breakdown.
An asylum, a sanitarium. His mental health is...
Traveling home. His mental health is fragile.
And he's fragile.
He must be Italian.
No. And sees the gremlin on the wing.
Right.
And no one else has seen it. It goes away every time. It's sort of like a Snuffleupagus.
Right.
I think Snuffleupagus may have been a Sesame Street gremlin.
Well, I thought it was interesting in how, and they really teased the audience, too, because you knew the guy was on ropes. You could just tell by the way he was flying.
The way he'd jump off the wing.
The way he would jump off the wing just as everybody looked or was about to look in or looked away. Or he climbed up onto the top, so he climbed up out of the frame. So there was always this ha-ha, ole, going on with the creature, the gremlin, as he called it. And then, of course, the twist at the end where you look at the engine cowling and you see that it's been peeled away.
The wing has been...
It's been tampered with.
I've
been tampered with. I've been tampered with. Sorry, that's an inside joke for Dan.
I don't think I want to know.
It was a car alarm.
Yeah.
Outside of...
a nightclub.
No, Bill Gray's out in Henrietta.
Was it Bill Gray's?
I think it was in Henrietta.
Okay, yes, it was. I remember that
in the parking lot, and there was a car.
And he was showing off. The guy was showing off his new car alarm, and so then he decided to set it off just so he could show off. And he opens up the door without the alarm being disarmed, and all of a sudden you hear the car go, "I've been tampered with! I've been tampered with!" And Dan and I lost it in the parking lot. We were laughing our asses off.
Oh my God.
For years, apparently.
Still,
decades at this point.
The door is ajar.
No,
I've been trying to loosen the door for a week now.
So anyway, circling back. Now, we talked about this a little bit on the ride out, Billy, you and I. Mm-hmm. And I know Tanya and I watched the episodes together, and so we kind of made a mention of it. This is going to be a 2-part process, and I feel bad about it because as much as I respect Jordan Peele as a writer, he's a great writer, and I like how he is his MO lately has been going back to the classics and giving them a spin, bringing them back forth into the modern eye. Great. Candyman, Twilight Zone, all the other stuff he's been working on, awesome. He's not Rod Serling.
No.
The voice doesn't bring me in.
Right. And so that's the thing. I'm just like, when we were starting to watch the second episode, The Nightmare at 30,000 Feet, I'm just like, oh, it doesn't have that same
gravitas
chill that goes down the back of down your back when you're ready to like enter the Twilight Zone and things like that. And I'm like, oh, okay.
But see, no one does. Yeah. Burgess Meredith did it in the 80s, not the same.
Right.
Forrest Whitaker, I believe, in the early 2000s.
Yeah, but Forrest Whitaker also, his voice does have a little bit of that haunting quality to it. So he was a little closer than the average bear on that one. But see, the thing is, I'm having such a hard time with this commentary because I really don't want to slam Peele's work
because he's gone
it's good work,
right? I mean, I like the episode. I think it was just the narration. Is what just it didn't necessarily grate on my nerves. It just didn't have the same tenor as the original.
And so. And I know for me, the answer is going to be obvious for me, but I'm going to ask the question, is that really that important that it's going to affect the overall product?
Potentially.
For me, it's yes. I mean, obviously, because I'm making the commentary about it. But
it's an interesting
Billy will still
question.
Watch it.
I love Twilight Zone, but I like shows like that. Black Mirror.
Oh, yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, because Black Mirror is, to me, it's actually better than
Have you seen The Invisible Man yet?
I have not. Is it good?
Invisible Man.
I want to see it.
It's got yeah.
So I'm to me, Black Mirror without a narrator
is nothing.
No, Black Mirror doesn't have a narrator, does it?
No, it doesn't, because without the narrator, it's to me a fantastic show. It doesn't need a narrator to sort of make a commentary about what was coming up on the show or it happened previously. And maybe they don't need the narrator on the current Twilight Zone. Maybe Jordan Peele
can step back a little bit.
Maybe it's the brand name of the Twilight Zone that makes the narrator necessary, because Rod Serling
he set the score,
because it set the stage.
5 seasons, 35 episodes per season. So there's what 160, 170 episodes overall, where you are used to you're entering another dimension of sight. A dimension of the mind, of imagine. It's just that voice. And the way he would kind of like grit his teeth as he was talking, his jaw would not move. He was almost Canadian. Sorry, I pick on my cousin Sherry all the time because...
Are we throwing the Canadians under the bus?
No, just one in particular. My cousin Sherry, she talks without moving her mouth, and it's amazing. It's like, she's just, hello, Christopher, how you doing? And it's like, oh my God, how do you eat? Anyway.
Carefully.
Carefully. I love you, Sherry. She actually listens from time to time. So
this will be the one. So therefore, I'm going to be sending her a message. Sherry, listen to this next episode.
The fact that my cousin can kick my ass. But anyway, that's a story.
It's Sherry with an SHERR.
No, I'm not spelling that out for you.
It's trap, right?
Wrong.
Oh, wait.
Damn. Anyway, leave her alone.
No, I'm going to tell. No,
leave me alone.
Hell no.
You will not be interested in this episode at all.
Why are you doing this to me right now? Are you serious? You're really looking her up? Are you serious? Why are you doing that?
Because I can. I don't know if I can.
Technology.
Got her.
I do not like you right now.
Solution to
She's beautiful.
Yes, she is. I'm the ugly one in the family on that side.
But your hair's so luxurious.
I'm telling you. Oh, I'm not saying. But anyway.
So I should friend her?
Yes, I'm the ugly cousin.
Bad friend.
Wow, you're doing that. That's amazing right now. I'm sweating. This is weird. My hands are vibrating. I'm really interested in strangling her right now. Can we do this show on 2? Yeah, we can do this show with 2 people. Just saying.
Me and Billy, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Oh, I can't believe you're doing this to me right now. What are you going to do? You're going to say, hi, I'm Chris's friend. By the way, I'm blowing him in because he makes fun of you?
Nope. I'm just making you sweat it out.
I hate you.
I know. At least right now.
What did you think of Nightmare at 20,000 Feet with William Shatner is a classic.
Yeah.
I loved the take on 30,000 Feet of Adam Scott's character, also mentally fragile.
Right.
But finding
the idea of the podcast recording.
Listening to a podcast on the plane.
Yeah.
Of the
flight. Yeah.
Talking in past tense about the flight that he's on at that very second. Which is just so weird. And now I kept asking myself over and over again, why is he not getting people to listen to this thing? I mean, he tried that first guy, and the guy's like, yeah, whatever, and walked off. But why is it, just listen to this. Just listen to this.
Yeah. Well, because you don't want to put someone else's earbuds in your ears nowadays.
Still, but if it was that, I don't know. He stopped trying.
But do you stop the podcast without knowing what's going to happen, or do you fast forward, or like?
Yeah, I don't know. Was it able to fast forward to, because the true podcast, if you looked at the time, was only 28 minutes, and every timestamp was 17 minutes in, and then something else, and that more than 17 or 28 minutes had passed because he's pausing it, type thing. So it just was really weird of everything going through there.
Now, the one of the theories I read about this episode is that the pilot that was sitting in the plane that wound up befriending Adam
being
Scott
the pilot?
was a figment of his imagination.
Okay. That would be a good, proper Twilight Zone twist.
Except, then
how did he get into the cockpit and beat everybody up?
Did Adam Scott do that? But they are saying when the guy, I think Joe was his name, the pilot was, that a couple passengers looked up at him to it sort of acknowledged his presence.
Yeah.
So that's not a real theory. But where did he go after the plane crashed?
Hold on.
Because it did say that there were everybody survived save one person, and they talked about his character, Adam Scott's character.
Yeah.
So that's even
Joe
implying that
Beaumont is the ex-pilot.
Okay.
By the way, one Easter egg.
Yeah.
The original pilot on that flight was Donner.
Yeah.
Richard Donner directed the original episode, the William Shatner episode.
Really? I thought Richard Donner was the director of the movie in the 80s. Donner, and you also see...
That was one of his first directing jobs, was the original Nightmare 20,000 Feet.
You also see the gremlin at the end.
And you also see the gremlin stuffed animal washing up onto the beach.
I love that. I
thought that was a great little tip.
I fanboyed out when I saw that.
Yeah. I started hitting...
I had to explain it. I had to explain it to Susan, because she'd never seen the original.
Oh, she didn't see the original one?
Yeah.
So, now, the second one, 30,000 Feet, that was a longer episode. Okay,
it's about 35 minutes.
Yeah, 20,000 Feet was 25 minutes, if I remember correctly. And do we feel that... I mean, which one was better at creating the tension?
First one.
I don't know.
I think the second one sort of lost something.
Where and when? To
me, almost when Joe Beaumont sort of became more important.
Right. A little shark jump action there when he started influencing Adam Scott's character. Justin, I think was the guy's name. Was that
Justin? Is the main character.
Justin. So when Joe started kind of influencing Justin,
I sort of wanted to see where it was going with him listening to the podcast, and
so Justin became the tool of his own demise.
I think the deserted island thing was sort of a letdown.
Okay.
Just me. It was a little anticlimactic, even though I thought it was a really good episode.
And I got it. The way they displayed the broken plane in the atoll, in the bay of the atoll, and then they say, "Oh yeah, everybody survived." How?
Yeah.
How does that work? One, how do you get the plane into there? Right. It breaks into 3 or 4 pieces, and everybody survived. How's that work? I want to be in that plane. I'll tell you that much. Well, I don't, but I do. It's kind of the weird juxtaposition of.
I thought Adam Scott was excellent in the passenger role, and I like the beginning where you sort of see him before they get on the plane. It sort of sets up his character. He's a writer, and he has the guy sign the magazine, and it sort of builds a tension before the plane takes off.
What's the commentary on society in there? I felt that there was one towards the end when they all turned on Justin at the end. Like everybody dogpiled on that poor man as they blamed him for the plane crash, basically. All he was just a reporter, an investigative reporter who managed to find a really weird podcast, and it ended up unleashing a chain of events. And I don't know.
Do you think it was a commentary, like an anti-media, anti-press thing?
I don't know if it was an anti-media, anti-press thing. Well, maybe to a degree. Yeah, maybe to a degree. I just how society reacts to tragedy and trauma. I don't know. It's just we kind of hinted at it a little bit at the top of our conversation today because we spent so much time talking about what's going on in reality in today's society right now with the virus action with COVID-19 and and how people are responding to it. We kind of hinted at it a little bit, and this is something I've been thinking about since I watched that final scene of 30,000 Feet, where they ganged up on him, they blamed him for the crash, and they came after him and effectively beat him to death. Is what's the implication?
Yeah.
So is that, I don't know. Suddenly I'm now at a loss to understand my own thinking on that one. I'm going to have to listen to this podcast later. Maybe I'll be inspired.
See, if I knew that what had happened in the world in the last week was going to happen, I may have suggested for a Twilight Zone episode, and there isn't a remake of it, but the monsters are doing Maple Street. I don't know if you've ever seen the episode. It's where they're in a neighborhood, and just neighbors who've always been friendly with each other, some friends, but weird things start happening. Lights start going on and off. Cars start, and it creates a paranoia. Because at one point there's like are aliens doing this? And there's one neighbor that has like a basement shelter that not everyone can fit into. And how come his lights work and ours don't? And how come this person's electricity is on but ours isn't? And it creates sort of a neighbor versus neighbor thing.
And it's almost, I don't want to use the word trope, but that seems to be something that's been common in a lot of at least sci-fi writing, in mystery writing, is that whole, it really is a comment. I think there's a lot of people who are making the same comment that we've made, or I've made at least on several occasions, of how far we have not come as a society. I was writing a short story. I've never got around to finishing it, but it was in the sci-fi universe that Dan and a couple of friends of ours and we had been working on over the years, and I called it was The Sheriff. And it's another planet entirely, but it's a human settlement, and it's this whole very kind of easygoing story from the perspective of basically your good old-fashioned country sheriff, in a more advanced futuristic time. So instead of a ground cruiser, he's got a hovercraft, kind of thing, stuff like that. But he still talks about the same stuff. He talks about the farmers. He talks about the state fairs and things like that. But something happens and another thing happens, and so you start seeing this wheel start to move, and people start kind of reacting to this one thing, and it starts spreading out, and everybody starts kind of reacting in a very similar fashion. The mob mentality takes over.
Okay, mob mentality.
That's the phrase I was struggling to see. This is why I should not be waking up at 4:30 in the morning on a podcast day. And I think that the phrase that kept me going, and I intend to finish this story one of these days, so I'm not going to get all the way to the end on telling it here. But the story that the phrase that always pops into my head is how far we haven't come. People, futurists, and the the hopeful types there, and which I love to be one of these days again. That would be great. I've become very cynical. They're always, look how far we've come as a society. Look how far we have come. Look how far we have come. But then certain things happen, and look how far we haven't come. Yeah, we still act like, the barbarians at the gate.
See, I see it both ways in that, you see the bad stuff. You see how people are turning against each other, whether it's politically or, fighting over hand sanitizer, toilet paper, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also, because I've had some bad luck in the last few months, I've also seen a lot of really good things.
That's good.
A lot of people have done really, really nice, beyond nice stuff.
And that
to the point where
fills me with hope to hear that.
It's really stunning,
Mm-hmm.
and you think, wow, people are good, and I prefer to think of it that way. And in general, people I think are pretty good.
What's that line? I posted it from. I posted a meme version of it. The one from Men in Black. A person is smart.
Mm-hmm. People are dumb.
People are
Yeah.
dumb. People plural. Mm-hmm. I mean, my hand to God, this happened. Every time I tell this story lately, people are like, "Oh, you're making this up." And I swear to God, I saw it with my own eyes. I walked into a convenience store that's in my work area, of the city that I patrol, for lack of a better way of describing it. And when as soon as I walked into the store, I knew something was wrong. And there was a person at a customer in front of the registers telling off the store manager at the top of their lungs, screaming at the store manager who was looking like a lost puppy under the assault, because the convenience store was offering Corona beer in its case. And that Corona's got that nasty Corona thing going on, and why are you subjecting people to this? And the poor store manager was trying. It was just it's not, the beer is not involved in it in any way, shape, or form. It's just a name that was chosen for this particular this virus going. But the customer was bound and determined to let them know that she was going to call the police unless they went back there right now and they got rid of that out of that case right now immediately. Mm-hmm. This happened. I watched it happen.
I believe you.
And I
remember a couple weeks ago, Garth Brooks got huge backlash for wearing a Barry Sanders jersey in Detroit. You didn't see this story?
I'd heard something about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Garth
Barry
Brooks,
Sanders.
Barry Sanders, Detroit Lions running back,
Right.
legend. Way retired.
Yeah.
We're number 20. And Garth Brooks was a fan, so he was wearing a Sanders 20 jersey, which made a bunch of...
people think that it was Bernie Sanders
Bernie
2020.
Sanders 2020.
And there's this whole meme that came out in regards to it. Deion Sanders, Bernie Sanders, Barry Sanders, all
One
the
of these things is not like the other.
type thing.
So Garth Brooks got huge backlash, death threats, blah, 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 for wearing a Barry Sanders jersey from people who are anti-Bernie Sanders.
That's
because
amazing.
there are people out there that are ignorant and they just jump to conclusions without having all the facts.
And doesn't that kind of fit to circle this all the way back around? Doesn't that fit kind of the tenor of the 30,000 feet episode? 20,000 feet, they kind of humored him to a particular degree.
Right.
Even
You're
the flight engineer comes back to talk to William Shatner's character. And said, "Oh yeah, no, we know about it, but we just don't want to alert anybody."
Right.
And Shatner kind of, "Oh, you're patronizing me, whatever." But they didn't so much feed into it, but they kind of like
that's a good
kinda
point.
like
They
tried
were
to pacify
kinder.
it.
They were
trying to-
kinder.
where in this one you could of the flight attendants, for instance, the African American one with the longer hair, like the afro, he was getting really snarky with Adam Scott's character, like right off the jump, like, no, you just sit your ass down and behave yourself. And then the one woman, she kept getting more and more steadily more frustrated with the passenger, rather than trying to hear them out and be kind and understand. It's again commentary in society.
Actually,
It is.
You just brought up an interesting point. That's something I forgot about. The second version, the Adam Scott version, also plays a lot into commentary, I think, on sort of racial nationalism.
Yeah, true. They do touch on that a little bit.
It's like stereotyping and
because you had the
profiling.
Middle Eastern people,
the
Russians or the Germans.
Yeah.
Or
so there was a
whatever
lot of do we trust those people type of thing. So
it's a lot of social commentary in that 30,000 episode, that 30,000 foot episode.
Yes, but I want to bring up a little tidbit of trivia about the first episode.
Okay.
We know that Shatner is legendary for pulling pranks on the set.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
So he'd been doing that since the early part of his career, I'm assuming?
Yes. So
here it comes.
You know that he always was messing with Leonard Nimoy on the Star Trek set, things like that, constantly. So In this one, William Shatner played an elaborate prank on the set when he conspired with a friend who was visiting the filming. Actor Ed Barnes to trick the director Richard Donner into thinking Shatner died. I can tell you right there. This is going bad. Between takes, when Donner was off set getting coffee, Shatner and Barnes staged a fake fight on the set, which was suspended some 30 feet above a giant empty tank. When Donner ran back into the studio to see what was happening, the two men chased each other around the back of the airplane set and wound up atop the plane wing. Donner saw a body falling off the wing and Burns yelling in terror as it impacted on the concrete floor. Donner said that when he ran to the fallen motionless figure, thinking it was a dead or grievously injured William Shatner, he was greeted with laughter the moment he realized it was just an articulated human dummy the two men had found in another part of the studio and threw off the wing. Donner later joked, "Honestly, my first reaction was, don't tell me I have to shoot the whole show over again."
That is so weird for a couple reasons. First, it's funny, but Chris and I were just as we were walking into this house, we were discussing a similar stunt.
Yeah. The Ben Folds 5 MySpace concert.
Mm-hmm.
We're referring to a concert that happened several years back with the band Ben Folds 5 in their rehearsal studio, and so it's this huge studio. It had a catwalk around it and everything. And so during this one particular song, I don't remember exactly which one, but the camera is panning the crowd, and at one point, it's taking a particular liking to this one guy who's walking along the catwalk, who then leans precariously over said catwalk. And then there's a quick couple of jump cuts, and then you like during the one cut, you see this thing drop from the catwalk, but it's snapping to Ben Folds sitting at his piano playing the song still. But you hear the crowd going, "Ah!" And the whole thing stops for a second, and there's the camera gyrates a little bit, like it's been hit with fuzz or whatever, and then it's a Texas switch, a Texas cut, where they look back to the crowd, and you see the guy step up, and he gets up, he dusts himself off, and walks away. So it was a whole gag played by Ben Folds on the audience, well, with the audience's help, on the audience at home. But yeah, Billy and I were talking about it just as we were walking in.
Turns out they got the idea from William Shatner.
Apparently! That's a thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You got anything else on that file there? Tanya Fabulous?
No, I'm checking my email.
You're checking your email?
Yeah.
Did you get anything good?
I don't know.
Any contracts? Any guest announcements? Do we have any guest announcements?
No new contracts.
Okay. Because Nico's going to ask.
Yeah, no, we have not gotten any new contracts.
He texted me after I made a big deal about calling him out, right? After calling him out on Nerd World News last week, he's like, "I didn't think I was that bad." I'm like, "Oh, we're just busting your chops, buddy. You're fine."
Let's see. More trivia. The Nightmare at 20,000 Feet was one of 4 to be remade for the Twilight Zone, the movie.
Which, the movie is very good. John Lithgow plays the main character. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and he's really good in it.
See.
Very sweaty.
Mm-hmm.
Inspired the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode Terror at 5.5 Feet. Let's see.
Let me tell you though, I gotta tell you, Nightmare in 20,000 Feet, the original version with William Shatner, it hits in one of those jump cuts like my worst nightmare. I have this running.
You were freaking out when we were watching it because you're like, I don't like flying.
Really?
I
didn't know that was a thing.
I hate flying to begin with.
I'm not a fan either, but I don't do it all.
I will do it as a necessary evil, right? Now, at one point, early on, when it's being established this thing is on the wing and Shatner's seeing it, he pulls the curtain. All right.
Oh, when he pulled it, and the monster's face is right up against the window.
And the monster's face is in the freaking window. That is like that's Chris's nightmare number 1, to look at a window and see a face staring back at me, and like when I don't expect it to be there, and I'm like, oh my god, no, I'm done with this.
That's why you've jumped when I've hopped up in front of your truck window when you at least expect it.
Worst. I hate it. I hate it.
I got something else to get him with.
Oh no, that's not a good idea because it might not end well.
But
it's your truck seat that's going to get peed on, not me.
Even though it looks sort of like an evil Muppet, it still is a scary-looking monster.
Yeah.
It's not particularly realistic, but it's still really.
I mean, it's a guy in a gorilla suit with a weird mask.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious, but still, it's the way that they present it.
Yeah.
And I would hate to be the actor in that suit because, man, they were pouring a shit ton of water on him during the course of the episode, so he had to be hauling around a waterlogged suit the entire time.
He did a good job, even with just the facial expressions.
Even though the upper half of his face was a mask, essentially, right?
Yeah.
It was just, I tell you, when he pulled that curtain back and the face was right there, I'm like, oh my God.
That's why you jumped.
Oh, God. I was not a happy camper. I'm like, okay, plane plus that equals Chris does not like this episode anymore.
And in the podcast episode, that I guess the guy that did the podcast voice has a very popular podcast.
Oh, yeah?
One that I don't listen
Was
to,
it like
but
a true
it's
crime?
The voice speaking on the podcast is that of Dan Carlin. Dan Carlin.
Oh, okay.
Known well for his real podcast, Hardcore History.
Interesting. So his podcast would fit this particular type of an incident. Got it.
The podcaster's name is Rodman Edwards, is a take of Rod Serling's full name, Rodman Edward Serling.
Got it.
The magazine cover in the airport with Justin's article, the one that Joe and Justin briefly fight over, despite that there's many copies there, and that Joe has Justin sign, has the image of William Shatner's face from the Twilight Zone, a 1959 episode, the Twilight Zone Nightmare at 20,000 feet from 1963.
That's a good pick up on that. Also, and I love it when a show Easter eggs itself. Supernatural's very good at that from time to time. But if you're looking closely, this is episode Nightmare at 30,000 Feet, episode 2 of the new Twilight series. Episode 1 revolves around a stand-up comedian whose face is all over the magazine in the top rack of the gift shop at the airport.
I read that when I did my little research.
I noticed
didn't
that.
catch it.
Yeah, I noticed it.
Because I watched that episode.
Yeah. I didn't watch the first episode, but I remember seeing
Yeah.
the trailer of it.
Yep.
So his face was in my head, and I have an uncanny knack for crap like that.
It says there are magazine covers showing Samir from the Twilight Zone, the comedian, and Oliver Foley from the Twilight Zone, the Wonderkind. So it's two
Twilight Zone
two
episodes.
Twilight Zone episodes.
So when a show is good at Easter egging itself, that's always, I like that. That's a nice piece of fan service there, in my opinion.
And at around 1 minute, the main character's backpack at the security checkpoint is shown to have a decorative pin of the character Walter Sobchak from The Big Lebowski. Like Adam Scott's character in this episode, Walter Sobchak also suffers from emotional trauma, which exasperates his irritability and his erratic behavior.
Interesting. So there's a clue even without realizing it was a clue. Very cool. I just thought the guy was a Big Lebowski fan, which gave him credit in my opinion.
No.
And I like Adam Scott as an actor. He does mostly
What else does
comedic
he?
work.
But he's always kind of like
Parks and
deadpan
Rec.
too. He's doesn't go out of his way to be funny. He just finds himself in
He's
funny
got sort of an
situations.
attitude, yeah.
Yeah.
The Good Place he's in, Parks and Rec. Was he in The Party Down? Is that the name of the show?
Yeah, Party Down.
Yeah, that's a good show, too.
Did he play the kid in American Beauty
I don't think
opposite
so.
Thora Birch's character?
Hold on.
Maybe. I didn't think about
He
that.
looked familiar. I wasn't placing it. I know that might have been somebody else.
Career.
Filmography.
He's with, he was in the remake of Secret Life of Walter Mitty,
Yes.
the one with Ben Stiller.
With Ben Stiller.
He was the snarky new boss. He plays snarky very well.
He was in Star Trek First Contact.
Yep. He had a
Defiant con officer.
He had a couple of
that's
lines in
right.
that first battle scene. I thought I recognized him. I don't see him at American Beauty. I'm thinking about somebody else then.
One
the
was
kid who was
American
like-
Beauty.
Oh, that's a good question.
92? No. 95?
The first one that has 96 Hellraiser Bloodline. The Last Days of Frankie the Fly.
1999 for the American Beauty film.
And No Winding Roads. He was in Monster in Law.
Oh, it was Wes Bentley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, playing that character. I had the wrong guy.
But I'm a big Twilight Zone fan, and I'm going to continue my binging of the CBS All Access
Yeah,
show.
let me know what you
And
think of it.
I watched the third episode last night, which was also very good. It's Jordan Peele seems to like to push the sort of not race button, because that sounds derogatory. He likes to examine sort of racial tensions.
Well, I think that's necessary. I really do. I think a show like The Twilight Zone is going to give him a really good vehicle to put a spotlight on stuff like that. Really, we saw it a little bit in Nightmare 30,000 Feet.
Yeah,
but turning the world on its ear through media, through entertainment is kind of a classic move.
And the third episode had a racist sheriff down south sort of tormenting a black mom and her son.
Did a comeuppance come around, or was it just an additional?
Because a little bit of a comeuppance, but sort of
we Americans love our tidy packages. You know that, right?
They imply that things eventually don't go well.
Okay. Which is good. And I think, again, Twilight Zone is a great vehicle for stuff like that. Because, like I said, we Americans, we're used to our tidy packages. We want to see a beginning. We want to see a middle. We want to see an end. More often than not, we want to see the villain get his and the hero win, right? We've come into an era these days where the anti-hero has gained some serious popularity. But we still like to see the really nasty sons of bitches get theirs.
In fact, one review of Nightmare at 30,000 Feet that I read brought up that it doesn't ultimately succeed as an episode because Twilight Zone normally gives the comeuppance to the bad guy. Adam Scott didn't necessarily.
He was trying to help.
Yeah.
But
so his ultimate fate he didn't deserve.
He makes, but Jordan Peele makes in the narration, the closing narration of that episode. It makes the old adage: "The road to hell is paved with good intention."
Yeah.
So it's what did you do? It's are you inexorable in an inexorable destiny? Are you in this chain of events and you can't get out? You were always meant to be a part of it. You're always meant to be this. This. It was weird. It was definitely weird.
Yeah.
I would like to have seen them do. I don't know. I'd like to have seen them do a different interaction. Maybe more with the podcast interaction.
That was my favorite part, actually.
Yeah,
was the podcast.
Was listening to the podcast and then
comparing it to what was going on.
Yeah.
He's like looking around, like.
It's like he missed an opportunity. I didn't see, and maybe it was just the fault of the hardware of the actual device itself, but I didn't see him like fast forwarding or rewinding or anything.
Right,
like that.
and the you would think in today's technology that looked even
the earliest MP3 readers would have that kind of a thing.
It looked like the antique type radios.
But it had an iPod screen.
Right, but it said MP3 at the top, and it had that, and it looked like a combination of you now know that you can like go to like Best Buy or whatever and get a vintage type radio, but it uses all today's technology, and I think that was kind of like the play on it. That was like, ooh, it was an older type thing that
it also ties the two episodes together because you have one technology that appears to be from the original episode and then acts like the current episode. So
because he takes out his AirPods
to put the headset on
because he's like he realizes that his AirPods can't connect to that, so now he starts looking for an actual headphones to plug into it. So it was a little interesting on that take.
So did we like the episode 30,000?
I liked it, but I liked the original better.
20 better.
Yeah.
How about you, T? Yep. You just yawned my way through that non-committal answer.
So I wasn't feeling good Friday night too.
You weren't.
So
that's true.
I don't know if it was my sugar levels that were off, but I just did not. All of a sudden, just did not feel 100%. And it's not the cold or the coronavirus. Okay. It was just like I was fine, and then all of a sudden, I'm just like, Chris, do you have a snack? Do you have whatever?
I didn't have any bread or toilet paper. That's what it was. So it was really.
I'm like, do you have fruit snacks? Because I knew at that point.
I do now. By the way, I bought them in your honor.
Well, it didn't help on Friday.
I'm sorry.
No, but just having the little pudding cup helped because I think my sugar level had dropped too far, and so.
Yeah, that's what I say too when I want something.
No, I
really think I need a Twix bar.
Something was off. So, but no, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I've always liked the Twilight Zone episodes. I don't really like dive in to look at analyzing them. I just usually try to check my brain at the door and sit back and enjoy.
Twilight Zone is probably one of my top 5 or 10 shows of all time. Just in December, I think it was, they did a 60th anniversary of Twilight Zone, a Fathom Events thing at Tinseltown.
You're like, I was there.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I remember, and we could talk about this in another episode down the road, but I remember the Bill Mumy episode when he was playing the small child
It's a Wonderful Life,
who could teleport people away just because he was pissed at them or something like that, and everybody was so scared of this kid.
Yep.
I remember that episode vividly.
And they remade that one in the Twilight Zone movie, too.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah, they did. All right. So that sounds like a good conversation or a good spot to end that conversation on. And we can come back to this another time like we do often with other things.
We always circle the wagons.
We don't circle the wagons. That's why we take so many beatings. We circle around to conversations, though, and we're going to circle around to this one again another time. There's so many choice stories from the Twilight Zone legacy to work with.
And let us know your favorites.
Yeah, let us know your favorites. Tell us what you think. We're always willing to hear your 2 cents on any subject we talk about. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some events, and we'll talk about our question of the week.
The flight of Mr. Robert Wilson has ended now. A flight not only from point A to point B, but also from the fear of recurring mental breakdown. Mr. Wilson has that fear no longer, though for the moment he is, as he has said, alone in this assurance. Happily, his conviction will not remain isolated too much longer. For happily, tangible manifestation is very often left as evidence of trespass, even from so intangible a quarter as the Twilight Zone.
And we're back from break. I love how that works.
Wow.
It's so convenient.
And all of this stuff will still be on our video type
behind
thing.
The scenes.
Behind the scenes.
We're going to have a behind
we're
the scenes
on
reel
break
finally.
and whatever.
After doing this job for almost 4 years, we're going to have a behind the scenes reel finally. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be so long. Okay, never mind.
That's what she said.
I'm waiting. I was waiting. After I said it, was waiting.
So, Tanya, dear.
Yes.
What kind of events do we still have events?
We still do have events planned.
At the moment.
People have to just keep
an eye on things
on our Facebook page and our website and things like that. As of now, and today we're recording on March 15th, and this is dropping, I don't know, either the 18th or the
Ides of March,
the 25th or whatever. Happy birthday, Laura!
Yeah. And beware! Happy birthday, Sybil, who
Sybil
celebrated
was
her birthday yesterday.
Sybil.
So Laura,
Sybil's in Hawaii.
Sybil's in Hawaii visiting her dad. Yes, I have very little empathy for her at the moment because she's loving life.
Yeah,
although you may have empathy for her, she can't get back.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
No,
but I don't think she's going to. Being stuck in paradise doesn't sound like a problem to me.
Yeah, no.
And she deserves it. And I'll tell you what,
they
Sybil
run out of toilet
it.
paper there that they can't get shipped out to Hawaii because it's out of the continental 48 states. I'm sorry, Sybil.
You're stuck eating poi.
Just grab a cat.
Yeah. So. As of now, as I said, March 15th, Ides of March 18th, whenever we're dropping this episode, FLXCon is still happening as of what we're
being told
as of now.
Right.
April 18th from 10 to 7 at the Quality Inn in Waterloo.
10 to 4, I thought.
10 to 5?
10 to 5?
10 to 5?
10 to 5, I think.
I don't know. Check the Facebook page.
25 or 6 to 4.
I don't know. I'm like
now that song's in my head. Thank you, Billy.
Ant's not here to tell me, but
and we're working 9 to 5.
Working 9 to 5.
So the Finger Lakes radio group has not told us whether or not they're planning on canceling it at
like
this time.
Thursday or Friday when Ann checked in with those directors, it was still on.
Okay.
Michael Koski sent me a message the other day saying, "Are we still on?" I'm like, "As far as I know." So
if he comes to town, we just and the con's canceled, we'll just bring him home and hang out.
Yeah,
play Cards Against Humanity, stuff like that.
Man, he wins at that game. So
he's that twisted. That's why.
Yeah, I don't know. So that is still happening. Then March 18th, Comic Chicks are dropping another episode of their What Did Wade Buy This Week and what's in there, and we're gonna. So I have 3 days to read a comic book.
Come on, Tom.
I have 3 days to read a comic. I can do it. So yes, we're gonna be dropping a live episode of the Comic Chicks, and I'll be learning more about comic books and things like that. I've had a dream about opening comic books. It was really weird. So it's like now going into.
Do they speak to you yet?
No, but it was just
You're
weird
getting
that I opened one that was signed and whatever, and had like this was like between last night and this morning, whatever. And as far as I know, Daniel, we are still on for May 30th and 31st at the Total Sports Experience FC3 2020.
The fifth year.
Fifth year. It might be a Twilight Zone dimension type thing that thing. But yes, we are still on. No, we have no new guest announcements yet. I have a couple contracts out that I'm waiting for them to come back.
So we will have guest announcements coming up, but we don't have them yet.
The agent is currently traveling for that particular guest out of the country, but they're not in a country that's affected by coronavirus. They're not one of those whatever things. So as soon as I have that information, Chris and Dan and Laura and Ann and everything else will have that information, and then you guys will have that information.
Absolutely.
So it will come down the pipeline first to me and then to Dan and Chris and then out to you guys.
Let me ask, do we have, I don't know if we've discussed this or not, do we have like a deadline date? Like we're going to be set in stone on our decision-making process by this date.
Nothing is set in stone these days.
Because I only asked because somebody has asked me.
I think right now, aren't we like kind of just playing it by
everything by ear?
The information that comes down from the state and when
county.
They're all playing it by
state and county.
Much. So we're just going along with the flow.
Right.
And we're far enough out right now where
we're still 2.5 months away.
It's hard to know what it's going to be at that time.
Right.
You know,
so
there's big things like the Lilac Festival before us, you know, kind of thing. And let's just see what happens at that point.
I mean, if the Lilac Festival cancels, then we're going to have to do some soul searching.
If that cancels, I think we'd pretty much be canceled.
Yeah.
We'd be postponed.
Postponed.
Yeah. I think we have asked about other dates. But we trying as hard as we can not to
stay in May.
So the bottom line we want our fans and followers to understand is that this is not something we're blowing off. It's not something we're ignoring. We're keeping an eye on it every day. We're keeping an eye on the situation around the world every day. And if it's necessary to do and make decisions to protect people, we're going to make those decisions because we'd much rather have you all partying together and safely partying together than
to put on a show and run risks
right.
and
make sure
like
it's safe for our guests to travel.
Exactly.
And this and that. So we'll adjust if we have to, but hopefully we're still going on for May 31st right now.
Yep.
So.
Which seriously, it's like 10 weeks away. It's 2.5 months. So we got some time
Anything
to figure
can happen.
things.
I'm assuming Dan has a daily countdown going.
I have no idea.
Did you not put it on our Facebook, on our website yet, the countdown?
I don't know.
Did we have a countdown counter?
We did.
We'll have to go to the website and find out.
I don't know.
Maybe at the time this
FC3
podcast drops, it should
FC3ROC.com. Check it out to see if there's a countdown
going
timer.
into the past.
Maybe by this time that's going to and
so Bill, maybe we should put a key in the right spot, Ted.
And in regards to game nights, I don't know at this point if we're going to schedule any out right now, just because the restaurants themselves are making sure that they're taking every precaution and for dining and things like that, and making sure that people are like 3 to 6 feet away from each other. So not many spots. So at least for the foreseeable future, there's not going to be any game nights. But
what we are currently planning is May 16th to have
cosplay
a
day.
Cosplay PJ party at 585 Rockin' Burger Bar.
Yes.
So details will be coming out. Probably they should be out. They will be out when this podcast drops, but we're still working out a couple final things here as we're recording. So
dun, dun, dun.
I will be yet again
May 16th.
cosplaying as my favorite fantasy character, somebody who actually gets sleep at night. Pure fantasy character.
It is a pure fantasy character.
Yeah. All right, so we've come to the time of the podcast where we ask ourselves, what is the question of the week? And I think I found a good one.
Yes, you did.
Hey, Billy.
Yes, sir.
Billy, if you could retcon a single character's death, who would you choose and why?
The first thing that popped in my head when I read the question, and to me it's easy, Jason Todd Robin.
Okay.
Joker killed him. Stay dead. You're not Red Hood. that the beating that the Joker gave him was so brutal.
Yeah.
He stays dead.
That's it. So you would retcon.
I mean, you went through the whole problem
You would not retcon the death. You would retcon the aftermath of the death.
Yeah.
So,
I would keep him dead because DC went through the whole publicity thing where they had a 1-900 number, correct?
Right.
Where people could vote whether or not to kill him.
And we found out just how brutal society was.
They killed him.
So.
And stay dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Red Hood's a fine character, but...
You could have written that with anybody else.
And I understand Jason Todd's animosity, but no, I would have kept Robin dead because it created such... Both in real life and society, the whole vote to kill Robin or not, and was it Neil Adams and... Denny, what's the writer's name? Dennis O'Neil.
Okay.
I think was the editor. They did a great job at writing the story of making it happen, and I would have kept it the way it was. I think nowadays no one stays dead.
Yeah. Well, that's a thing.
And they used to say the only people, Uncle Ben, they haven't brought back yet, right? Is he
the
only one?
They did in a couple of alternate timeline ones where they did a what if. I think it was where Uncle Ben did not pass away.
Okay.
But for the most part, in terms of all of the actual mainline storylines of Spider-Man over the years, Uncle Ben being dead is always the clutch thing that's just that fixed point in time, if I may borrow a Doctor Who phrase.
And I would have kept Jason Todd dead.
Okay. So not retconning a death, but retconning the resurrection after the death.
Yeah. Is that a good answer then?
I'll work with it.
Okay.
I can work with that. How about you there, young lady?
I was thinking Boromir in Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Do you find that
Sean Bean shouldn't die?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
retcon all of
Sean Bean's characters.
Deaths.
Come on.
All 27 of them. I think somebody said
at this point.
Yeah, Sean Bean has died on film 27 times or something like that. Ridiculous number.
Yeah,
retcon all of them.
I don't know. I was thinking about this. I think the one that probably hit me the hardest with the character death was probably Black Widow.
Okay.
In this one, but I can see it. The reason why they had to do it because in order to get the Soul Stone, you had to whatever. But
right.
It had to be somebody else. I don't know, but or the fact that she did die, or just kind of going back and identifying the fact that she did sacrifice herself or whatever for the good of all. I mean, they were all like, oh, Tony Stark, whatever. And she was like just a mere passing thought during the movie. And that's so I think maybe if you can't bring her back, at least bring back her memory of this was her family, this was whatever, and she did stuff for her family, because it really wasn't played out as much.
Well, I'm wondering what's going to happen in the Black Widow movie that's coming out very soon.
It's in between Civil War and Infinity War.
Right.
So you're going to get a lot more of her family background, but it's still...
Is there going to be a tag scene that does the proper resolution?
I don't know.
Finally, though? So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that.
Allegedly May 1st, but I've heard April 24th they've pushed it back. They've upped it that Black Widow's not coming out May 1st anymore. It's April 24th.
Yeah, we want to isolate and quarantine people who may be sick during this trying time of viruses, but we're going to go ahead and bump up the release of a really popular movie to make sure that nobody can see it.
But they've also pushed back
Good job,
a Quiet Place 2. They've pushed that out, and
they also pushed out
007.
James Bond.
Yeah,
James Bond, because it has to do
with
about an enemy that created a virus.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're being sensitive to it.
They're being sensitive.
Did they move out of Mulan?
Mulan's been canceled outright.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so the theory is that Mulan's live action movie is going to probably be released on Disney Plus somewhere along the line. But the theater release of Mulan's been canceled for what I'm being told.
And they said on like Netflix series right now that they've stopped production on certain series now because
of the series being canceled. It's because
of the coronavirus
COVID-19.
Right,
but actually, the funny thing is about them moving the James Bond movie because of the virus thing. Right now, the most popular movie on Netflix, I think that they put I think it was Outbreak.
His
Or
Outbreak.
Contagion,
Dustin Hoffman
yeah.
is getting his resurrection of
They
his career.
threw that on there last week.
Yeah.
I was gonna
and
say, is
people were
Contagion
watching
out
it
there
like
too?
crazy, yeah.
That was a great movie, too. I remember watching it several times.
Was
I
that the
enjoyed
one
that
with
movie.
Rene Russo?
Yes.
Yes.
Or the monkey?
Yes. And Cuba Gooding Jr.
Okay.
Great characters.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I saw that one a while ago. So yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I know that the character deaths or whatever are designed specifically, but maybe it's any of our character deaths in our D&D campaign. I get attached to my character just a little too much.
Dan, well, I'm guilty of that, too. Dan, do you have a vote? Is there a character death?
Was he supposed to be thinking about that?
No.
I did not think about it.
That's
so
okay.
I do not have anything right now.
I'm going to use my vote for all of the little guys who deserve better, or the people who just deserve better in particular. Like most of the cast of Grey's Anatomy, whoever works for Seattle Grace is going to die. I think two characters have walked off into the sunset, right? But most of them, there's plane crashes, car crashes, this thing's happened, that thing's happened. I want to retcon the majority of the death because Shonda Rhimes, you should be ashamed of yourself. Holy crap. Certainly you can give people better respect than that.
Well, then what about Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones is
That's
about...
George R. R. Martin.
George
He's
R.
killing off everybody. Don't get attached to the character.
Seriously. I mean, well, here's the thing. Here, let's talk about that really quick. Let's talk about that because that's actually a valid point. No, that's a great point to make. I would like to think, and this may be a hubris on my part, but most of the deaths, I'm going to say most, not all.
Sean Bean.
Most of the deaths in Game of Thrones served a purpose. Everything kind of led towards a particular action, towards a particular end. Now, towards the end, the whole show got messy in its last couple of seasons. So I want to do a podcast about Game of Thrones in particular where we talk about
I have to go back and watch
they
then.
cheese the end of it.
When they had to go off the George R. Martin script?
Exactly.
Because he's not done.
When
Because
they
he was
ran out
never
of material.
He wasn't done.
And they were going off of what basically he told them was going to happen. So that's an entirely different creature. Now, circling all the way back around, like I said, I mentioned Grey's Anatomy. There's going to be another obscure reference. I remember in my college days, when I was first getting into Dungeons and Dragons, I read the Dragonlance saga like many kids my age did at the time. And so I would retcon the death of the Paladin Sturm Brightblade because it was pointless. There was a big battle scene going on. They're raging around, and this is happening, and this is happening. And suddenly, somebody turned a corner, and there was Sturm. He was dead. Nobody knows how. Nobody knows why. And it really didn't serve anything to the story. So my only thought is that the actual campaign that was being run at their table that they wrote about, that Sturm failed a saving throw somewhere along the line, and his character got axed. So that's a thing that happened. But I'm like, that just seemed like a completely pointless gesture. So Sturm Brightblade and the Dragonlance Saga books. Now, I say all of that to build up to the obvious choice. My full-on official vote for a death that I would retcon.
Every red-shirted guy in Star Trek, except for Scotty.
Well, they always served a purpose, too. They made sure that one of the senior cast did not get killed.
Good point. Why'd they always send the main guys down?
Yeah, I know, seriously.
Why is the captain going down to
they made a point of
that
not
looks
doing
like
that.
the Western movie set?
Well, you knew who was going to die. Okay, there's Kirk, there's Spock, there's Random Reg. Oh, he's dead. By the end of the teaser, he's dead. But my official vote, when there are Reavers, how do they clean their spears? You run them through the wash.
Yeah.
That's a joke that Nathan Fillion himself has said during conventions with Alan Tudyk sitting right next to him. So I don't feel bad about repeating it. But no, I would retcon Wash's death in Fire
pick.
in Serenity. I would. That's my genuine vote there. So.
That was a very sad one.
That was
It was, yeah.
That was a shocker. It was like, oh my God, what? Yeah. Joss Whedon, curse you! So, and if you bring up Joss Whedon, you're probably going to bring up a lot of heart-wrenching death scenes. Joyce, Buffy's mother, Angel, Spike, Buffy on several occasions.
But she came back.
Yeah, she did. She got better.
Just a flesh wound.
Tara, which was a huge, shocking one. But
that was a big plot
thing. That was a huge plot twist. It advanced the story, and it created one of your favorite heroes suddenly became the big bad for a while. Because of that. So it really kind of helped shift the story, but still, I would have...
Yeah, it was tough, yeah.
Yeah, it was tough to see that happen.
Poor Willow.
I know. I love the Willow. Anyway, so with that being said, that sounds like we have an episode done. Are we done? We're good?
We're good.
Anybody? Okay, red shirts, we feel bad for you guys, but we're not talking about
and
you
like
anymore.
Billy's wearing a red shirt
I
today.
am a FC3.
But Billy has a last
2017.
name,
Billy has a last name.
Yes.
and
But
it's referenced on this thing.
since we mentioned the red shirts, Randall in either Clerks or Clerks 2 mentions all the poor contractors on the Death Star
Yeah.
that weren't part of the Empire.
Do you think a stormtrooper knows how to
They're just
install a toilet?
electricians, and they're doing a job. They're going to work every day, and they wind up getting blown up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I know this is kind of sad, but in lieu of what's going on, Laura had a post on her page. Now all the sports fans know how it felt when Firefly got canceled.
That's funny. Because sports, I am missing sports. I'm a baseball fan.
But you also watched Firefly,
I
so
do watch Firefly. Yeah, I love Firefly. So I get it.
So
Welcome to the Browncoats, people.
yes.
All right, so that's good. We're done there. So I'm going to take a quick pause, and then we can talk about this has been FC3's Monkey Business, a product of. This is hard to do without the music in my head. That's really
a
it's
product of the Mighty Monkey Corporation,
Mm-hmm.
purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic-Con, coming at you May 30th and 31st from the Total Sports Experience in Gates.
on Elm Grove Road.
It's on a bus line.
Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us wherever we go.
And we'll lead you where to the entertainment is.
I am so proud of you.
Aren't you?
You've come such a long way,
I know.
Padawan.
And I don't even have it written down right here in front of me.
See, it's just
so
a matter of repetition.
It is a matter of repetition.
We love you guys. Be
Practice.
safe out there. Take care and be healthy. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.
Bye.
Dun.